look in the corner of your room right now. Or maybe think about your computer desktop.
Oh, the desktop is a classic hiding spot.
Right. I mean, is there a dusty guitar sitting over by the bookshelf? Or perhaps a folder on your screen titled, I don't know, business ideas that literally hasn't been opened since 2021?
Yeah, or like a half-finished business plan you swore you'd submit for a loan.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, today, we are opening that folder, we're picking up that guitar, we are looking directly at your someday pile.
And you know the exact one we're talking about, too.
Oh, absolutely. It's that mental and sometimes physical stack of things you have always wanted to do, but keep putting off for a quote-unquote better time.
Which is, let's be honest, an incredibly comfortable pile to maintain.
It really is.
It just sits there, quietly gathering dust in the back of your mind. It never demands anything from you today, but it's always there promising a better tomorrow.
That is spot on. And that's actually the absolute core of our deep dive today. We are exploring a really fascinating translated text.
Right, excerpts from a piece called Van Bandupen.
Yeah, and what this text does is incredibly ambitious. It breaks down the psychology and really the philosophy of a very specific, very haunting type of regret.
And we should clarify, we aren't looking at the regret of doing something wrong.
Right, like making a bad investment or saying the wrong thing in an argument.
Exactly. We are unpacking the quiet, lingering, totally invisible regret of doing absolutely nothing at all.
Which is so much heavier than it sounds.
It is. And what makes this translation so compelling to analyze is how it synthesizes this absolute powerhouse lineup of thinkers to explain our daily paralysis.
Yeah, it brings together existentialist philosophers, right? Søren Kierkegaard, Jean-Paul Sartre, Albert Camus, Martin Heidegger.
And it puts their ideas in a direct, practical conversation with Stoic thinkers, too. People like Seneca and Epictetus.
But it doesn't just, list their theories like a textbook.
No, not at all. It uses them to diagnose the exact psychological mechanisms we use to avoid starting the very things that could change our lives.
It essentially answers the fundamental question of why inaction feels so incredibly safe.
Right.
So if you are listening to this right now, this deep dive is specifically tailored for you.
It's a chance to help you identify what you are keeping in your own unstarted pile.
Yeah, and more importantly, to understand the hidden neurological and philosophical reasons why it's trapped there in the first place.
So I guess let's start at square one.
Yeah, let's do it. Why haven't you started that big project?
The easiest, most culturally accepted assumption is that it's just a fear of failure.
Right, because nobody likes to fail. Nobody likes to look foolish.
Exactly. But the existentialists argue that something much deeper and honestly much stranger is happening in our brains.
It goes way beyond the simple fear of looking bad in front of your peers, doesn't it?
It really does.
Right.
Kierkegaard actually diagnosed this perfectly with his concept of the anxiety of possibility.
The anxiety of possibility.
Right. He observed that people don't just fear failure, they are actually terrified of their own potential.
Wait, let me stop you right there, because I have to admit, that feels completely backward to me.
How so?
Well, I want to succeed. I'm pretty sure everyone listening wants to succeed at their goals. Why on earth would my own potential cause me anxiety? It doesn't make sense.
I know, it sounds super paradoxical until you look at the actual mechanics of choice.
Okay, walk me through that.
So, the moment you step into the realm of true possibility, the moment you say out loud, I am going to actively pursue this dream, you're standing at a fork in the road.
Okay.
And every single path you take from that point on has two distinct, undeniable outcomes. You will either succeed or you will fail.
Right.
The anxiety doesn't come from the failure alone. It comes from the sheer dizzying weight of having to navigate those outcomes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Kierkegaard actually called it the dizziness of freedom.
Yeah.
When you actually try, the reality of your own limitations becomes tangible.
Ah, I see. So it's just the sheer weight of having those two paths become real that causes the vertigo.
Exactly. It's overwhelming. And to avoid that dizzying vertigo, the human brain often chooses a remarkably quiet, self-soothing path.
It just refuses to start.
Precisely. Not starting becomes this ironclad psychological shield. If you never step out of your comfort zone, you never have to face the uncertainty of which path you'll end up on.
There is a really vivid, real-world example of this in the sources that I think will hit close to home for a lot of people.
Oh, the aspiring writer.
Yes, the aspiring writer. So the text talks about this person who reads constantly, right? They buy the expensive Moleskine notebooks.
Always the nice notebooks.
Always. And they have these absolutely brilliant ideas for a novel. But every time they think about actually sitting down to write chapter 1, they tell themselves, I'm just too tired today.
Or, I need to outline a bit more before I'm ready.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
years go by, the notebooks just sit on the desk, the ideas are still there, but the book never materializes.
Because they are keeping the book entirely inside their head.
Right. And the genius of that, psychologically speaking, is that as long as it stays in their head, the book remains absolutely flawless.
It is a masterpiece that can never be criticized.
Yes, because it is perfectly safe from the messy, unforgiving reality of the physical world. A thought can't be rejected by a publisher.
I relate to this so much, honestly.
Same. It's like Schrodinger's project.
Oh, I like that. Like the physics thought experiment.
Yeah, think about the famous experiment with the cat in the box. As long as you never actually start the work, the project exists in your mind as a guaranteed world-changing masterpiece.
The box is closed.
Exactly, the box is closed. Actually sitting down to write forces you to open the box, collapse that wave of infinite possibilities, and risk looking inside only to realize your masterpiece is just an average, messy first draft.
That is a brilliant analogy. Opening the box collapses the infinite potential into a single, vulnerable reality.
Yeah, and it's scary.
It is, and that connects perfectly to how Sartre viewed our daily behaviors. Sartre suggested that humans use inaction as a deliberate strategy to avoid their own freedom.
Again, that feels like cognitive dissonance to me. I mean, we spend our whole lives chasing freedom, right? Financial freedom, creative freedom, time freedom. Why would we actively avoid it?
Because true freedom is terrifying.
Really?
Think about it. Sartre pointed out that if you are entirely free to choose your path, then you are entirely responsible for the results.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, there is no boss to blame, no bad economy to point to, no bad weather to use as an excuse.
So if you open Schrodinger's box, try to write the book, and it's terrible, you have to own that lack of skill.
It's entirely on you. But if you never start, you remain perfectly free of the responsibility of the result.
You preserve the comforting illusion that your potential is completely intact and unlimited.
Exactly. Inaction keeps the dream alive, ironically, by never giving it the oxygen it needs to become real.
Okay, so if keeping this project safely in my head is just an existential defense mechanism to protect my ego from responsibility,
Which it is.
right, then how do I convince myself that I'm actually making progress?
Yeah.
Because when I'm putting things off, I definitely don't feel like I'm hiding in a bunker like a coward.
No, usually you feel really busy.
Yes, I feel productive. So how do our brains disguise this fear so effectively?
We disguise it by weaponizing time and preparation.
Weaponizing preparation. Yeah, that is the ultimate camouflage for inaction.
Let's look at the phrase, "I'll do it later."
Oh boy.
It is probably the most dangerous phrase in the human vocabulary.
Because later has no deadline.
Exactly. Because it's a completely undefined concept,
Yeah.
it is the easiest thing in the world to delay indefinitely.
Yeah.
And you can do it without triggering your own internal guilt alarms.
It's the ultimate get out of jail free card for your conscience. You aren't saying I quit, you're just saying not today.
Precisely. And this is where the philosopher Martin Heidegger enters the conversation.
What was his take on this?
He recognized that we live our lives as if our time is infinite. Now, obviously, if you ask someone on the street if they are immortal, they will say no.
Right, we conceptually know we are going to die.
But Heidegger argued that we fundamentally refuse to internalize that reality. We operate under this quiet daily assumption that there will always be a tomorrow to start the things we care about.
I want to build on that with an analogy, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
It's like treating your lifespan like a debit card tied to an account with no bottom.
Oh, that's good.
You just keep swiping it every single day, right?
Mhm.
Spending a day here, spending a week there. And because you never get a notification that funds are low, you just assume the money will always be there.
You never actually check the balance until the card declines.
That's exactly it. And because we think the account has infinite funds, we indulge in hidden procrastination.
We do things that look exactly like work, but care under the risk.
The examples of this hidden procrastination in the source text are brutal, honestly.
They really call us out.
They do. Like the person who watches endless YouTube video tutorials on how to code or how to start woodworking.
But they never actually write a single line of code or cut a piece of wood.
Exactly. Or the person who spends 3 solid years researching a career change, reading industry articles, meticulously analyzing job markets.
But they never actually send out a single resume.
Yes, and we have to ask why the brain loves doing that. The psychology and neurology behind it are totally fascinating.
It's a chemical trick. When you watch a tutorial or read a book about your goal, your brain gets a cheap dopamine hit.
It tricks your nervous system into feeling the emotional reward of progress and accomplishment.
You feel like you are advancing toward your goal, but you haven't taken any actual risk. You are trapped in a dopamine loop of preparation.
Okay, I have to stop you there and push back a little on behalf of the listener.
Fair enough.
Wait a minute. Isn't preparation an inherently responsible thing to do?
Well, sure.
Right. If you were going to change careers or move to a new city or start a small business, you would be incredibly foolish not to study the market or learn the necessary skills.
Nobody is saying you should fly blind.
Right. So how do you, as a listener, know when your valid, responsible preparation has quietly morphed into this existential hiding? Where is the line?
That is a crucial distinction to make. And to answer it, we actually have to shift away from the existentialists for a minute and look at the Stoic perspective.
Okay, let's bring in the Stoics.
Seneca noted a long time ago that humans spend so much time preparing to live that they rarely ever actually start living.
Ouch.
Yeah, and Epictetus warned his students that they much preferred to debate the finer points of philosophy rather than do the hard, gritty work of actually living by those principles.
There was an ancient problem.
Very ancient. To answer your question about when preparation becomes hiding, it happens the exact moment your preparation is used to completely eliminate uncertainty.
Which is an impossible goal. You can never eliminate uncertainty.
Exactly. You can never research a career change enough to guarantee that you won't get fired, or that your new boss won't be a total nightmare.
You cannot watch enough painting tutorials to guarantee that your very first canvas won't look like a muddy, embarrassing mess.
Exactly. When you are waiting for a perfect moment where all risk is gone and success is assured, your preparation is no longer about getting ready.
It has become a tool for avoidance.
The Stoics recognize that the quote-unquote perfect time is an absolute illusion. It just does not exist.
So what happens when the debit card finally declines?
That's the heavy part.
We've talked about why we hide behind the anxiety of possibility and how we use the illusion of infinite time and endless dopamine loops as our excuses. But eventually, the reality biology catches up with us.
The illusion of infinite time shatters.
Right. What happens to our psychology when we begin to age?
This is where the text brings up a really fascinating and honestly somewhat tragic paradox of human life. The fear of failure is at its absolute strongest when we are young, precisely because our possibilities are wide open.
Because when you are 20, the sheer volume of doors you could walk through is paralyzing.
Exactly. But regret operates on the exact opposite timeline. Regret is strongest later in life, when those doors begin to physically and metaphorically close.
That makes profound sense when you think about it. When you're young, failing feels like it could derail your entire future.
But when you're older, looking back, you realize the only thing that actually ruined anything was the act of not trying at all.
Albert Camus observed this beautifully, didn't he?
He really did. He argued that humans experience a profound, often jarring awakening when they finally recognize their time is finite.
And what's interesting is that this awakening usually doesn't happen during a massive life crisis or near-death experience.
No, it happens in the mundane moments. It happens when a person suddenly recognizes the sheer repetition of their past years.
They wake up and realize they have lived the exact same Tuesday for the last 5 years.
And when they look back, they don't just see the events that happened. They start seeing the empty spaces of what they didn't do.
Let's make this real for a second. If you're listening right now, I want you to do a quick mental exercise.
Think about the hardest choice you made 5 years ago.
Maybe it was staying at a safe job instead of starting your own venture, or not asking someone out, or deciding not to move to a new city.
Now think about the phantom version of you.
Yeah, the alternate universe that took the other path. What does their Tuesday morning look like today?
Who are they having coffee with? What problems are they solving?
That phantom self is the empty space Camus is talking about.
That is a haunting visualization, but it's exactly the mechanism at play. And time fundamentally alters how our memory processes these choices.
How so?
Active failures, like the times you actually tried something and fell flat on your face, they eventually just become interesting textures in the story of your life.
Oh, right. You laugh with your friends about that terrible business idea you had in your 20s.
Or that disastrous first draft of a screenplay that made absolutely zero sense.
The pain of the failure fades, and the humor and the lesson remain.
But the things you never tried, the passive choices.
Those don't become funny stories at a dinner party.
No. The sting of inaction doesn't fade, it calcifies. They morph into permanent, haunting, what ifs.
The examples the text uses for this look-back period are incredibly poignant.
Like the guitar example.
Yeah, it describes an older person walking into a room, seeing a guitar sitting in the corner, and suddenly wondering who they would have become if they hadn't let everyday responsibilities and exhaustion stop them from learning music.
It's not just about mourning the loss of a fun hobby.
Right, it's mourning the loss of an entire dimension of their identity.
Or think about the person who chose the absolute stability of their hometown over moving to a new, unfamiliar place when they had the chance.
Now, decades later, they are forever wondering what that alternate life looked like.
It's the absolute tragedy of the safe choice.
The text frames this conflict perfectly. It says the battle is always between the safety of habit and the possibility of life.
Habit gives us undeniable stability. It keeps our heart rate down.
But possibility is the only thing that gives us vitality.
So to the listener, I have to ask you directly.
Are you trading your best, most capable years for a someday plan that doesn't actually exist?
Are you paying for the safety of habit using the currency of your own vitality?
It is a really heavy question, but it's the exact question these philosophers were trying to force us to ask.
If we connect all of this back to the bigger picture and distill the main takeaways, the Stoics actually offer a very grounding, almost comforting perspective.
They really do. They don't promise that if you start your project today, you will achieve wild success.
No, they don't promise your book will be a bestseller, or your business will make millions, or your career change will be seamless.
That's not the point at all.
The point is that they simply recognize that time is passing right now. And with every single year that passes, certain doors become inherently heavier and harder to open.
Because life objectively gets more complicated.
We acquire mortgages, our responsibilities to our families grow.
Our physical energy shifts, and the sheer force required to pivot your life increases exponentially.
Exactly. And to bring it back to Jean-Paul Sartre one last time, his defining insight was that you are not just the sum total of the things you have done.
Your identity is also shaped by the possibilities you have consciously chosen to ignore.
The unwritten books, the untaken trips, the unlearned languages, the unlaunched businesses.
They are a very real part of your identity too, but they exist within you in the form of a persistent, nagging question mark.
Now, I want to make sure we leave this on the right note, because this deep dive is absolutely not meant to induce panic.
Oh, definitely not. Please don't listen to this on your commute or during your workout and feel completely overwhelmed by the ticking clock of mortality.
That is the complete opposite of the goal here.
Right. The goal of examining this text, of looking at Kierkegaard and Sartre and Seneca, is to inspire immediate, tangible action.
You do not need the perfect moment to begin.
In fact, if there's one thing you take away from this, it is that you must accept that the perfect moment is a total lie.
It doesn't exist. You just need to begin with whatever scraps of time, energy, and resources you have right where you are, right now.
Take the project out of the Schrödinger box. Put it on the table.
Let it be imperfect and messy and real in the physical world, rather than pristine and flawless in your imagination.
Precisely. Open the box. Let it breathe.
Just start.
But before we wrap up today's deep dive, I want to leave you with one final, deeply provocative thought to chew on.
Oh, this is a good one.
We spent a lot of time today talking about how we avoid starting because we fear failure or because we want to preserve our infinite potential and avoid the responsibility of our freedom.
But the text briefly mentioned another deeply unsettling idea that builds on Kierkegaard's anxiety of possibility.
It's the ultimate twist on this entire psychological framework.
It really is. It suggested that success is actually terrifying, too.
Think about the neurology of it. If you succeed, everything changes. Success forces you to become an entirely different person.
If you finally write the book and it gets published, you can't be the misunderstood, struggling genius at the local coffee shop anymore.
Right. You have to be a working professional with actual deadlines.
If you start the business and it takes off, you have to become a leader who manages payroll and handles high-stakes stress.
So as you go about your day, ask yourself this.
Are you keeping your someday dream unstarted, not because you're afraid you'll fail,
but because if you actually put in the work and succeed, the comfortable, familiar, predictable version of who you are today will have to completely cease to exist to make room for that new life.